Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another edition of Dark Powerrr, covering all of the wrestling action that's happening on Tuesdays. Before we get started, please remember to hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. Don't comment yet, we haven't really gotten into everything, but we will, and when we do, we'd love to hear what you guys have to say. But, as always, please hit the like button, subscribe. If you haven't already, share this with your friends. We love to increase our audience, increase who we are connecting with, increase who we are able to share our thoughts and opinions, and receive more opinions and receive more just thoughts and perspectives of all of our fellow wrestling fans. So let's jump straight into it. Today we're going to start with AEW Dark, as we always do, and we start with FTR, tag team action against The Initiative. Who are The Initiative? Well, it's a new name for Brandon Cutler and Peter Avalon. They now have a team name based off of Cutler's die, the die that he rolls. And a new name it's like a fresh coat of paint, but sometimes that fresh coat of paint, if it's still on a bad vehicle, it's not going to matter, right? And so Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler do not pick up the win. They continue to work better and better as a tag team, and that's something that's always great to see. FTR is picking up the win here. We kind of know that already. They have the Young Bucks at ringside. We're continuing that slow burn of the Young Bucks versus FTR storyline. When they're actually going to fully kick that off, we don't know. But interested to see the continuation each week, how it grows, how it develops. Just having the Young Bucks at ringside, where they are ostensibly there for supporting the Initiative, but are shaking the hands of FTR after FTR wins the match. It's little things like that. And little things continue when we have tag team action of Sonny Kiss and Joey Janela teaming up against Michael Nakazawa and Pineapple Pete. Why this is continuing that is we are continuing the storyline of teams that are continuing to gel. And we're seeing that with Janela, no pun intended, and Sonny Kiss. They are continuing to work very well as a tag team together. Again, they're picking up a win over Michael Nakazawa and Pineapple Pete, a team that's basically been thrown together, but at the same time, they are showing cohesiveness, and that's the same cohesiveness that we want to see when it comes to a tag team in the ring. And it's great to see that from them. They're continuing to develop, continuing to work well together, building out the storyline of Janela teaming with Kiss, something that's great to see. I like that we had a lot of tag team action, because after this, we're going to have a stretch of no tag team action on Dark, culminating in our main event, which is a triple threat between tag teams. So it kind of has tag team in the beginning, singles matches then, and we finish off with a great tag match. But coming after this is the start of that stretch of singles matches, starting with Abaddon versus Skyler Moore. Abaddon has one of the most unique looks, not just in AEW, but in all professional wrestling, and she works it very well, I gotta say. I don't know. When she debuted on AEW Dark, that was the first time that I'd ever seen her. And so all of my interactions or all of my witnesses of Abaddon matches have been on AEW. But from what I've seen, she is a talent. I can see why they're interested in her. I think they did sign her. I know they signed Anna Jay, who debuted on Dynamite against Abaddon and lost. But I don't remember if they actually signed Abaddon. If they have, that's a good look for Abaddon. She will continue to, I think, grow in the women's division if they do sign her, just simply because of the uniqueness of the character. She sticks out, and sometimes sticking out can be a good thing if you can back it up, and she's somebody who can back it up with strong character work. Strong character work is something that continues when we have a promo from Shawn Spears explaining more about why he's wearing that glove. And it's a really interesting way. It's an interesting way of putting a spin on it. His explanation for why he's wearing the glove is because he is swimming with sharks. And when you swim with sharks, you have to be able to defend yourself. And this glove, in whatever shape, whatever way it provides provides comfort, provides a level of assuredness to Shawn Spears that he can continue, he can fight, and he can win. Confidence is an incredible thing when it comes to the character of wrestling and what they're doing in the ring. And for Shawn to say, there are people out there who think they're better than me, and in order to prove that they think they're better than me, are really going to try to hurt me. I need to find a way to protect myself, even though I know I can beat them. I want that safety blanket in a way. And that glove with, a little piece of metal, slid in there, it provides that. And that's something that's important for the character of Shawn Spears, because throughout the story of Shawn Spears in AEW, it's always been he can't get the job done on his own. He couldn't attack Cody by himself. He needed a chair, right? He can't win on his own, and when he does, it's against lesser opponents. When he faces stiffer competition, he fails, or he comes very, very close, but he can't get over the hump. And maybe this glove, that level of comfort, is what's going to help him get over the edge. So I want to see how that continues to develop. I thought the promo itself was strong, just him by himself, kind of in a backstage setting, just talking to the mic and the camera, really strong. After this, we have a tag team match of Dark Order, of Stu Grayson and Evil Uno versus Hobbs and Dawn. And this is a strong match for Dark Order. Grayson and Evil Uno are the, shall we say, premier tag team of Dark Order. Definitely premier over Reynolds and Silver. They pick up the win over Hobbs and Dawn. I've said this before, I'll say it again. Sean Dawn is TV ready. He is somebody who can be on Dynamite and can grow and be in that undercard and slowly work his way up. He's definitely been proving that week in and week out with everything they've asked him to do on Dark. I really hope they sign him. And I really hope they're able to push him, really do something with him to showcase what he can do on a larger and larger scale. There's only a couple 100,000 people that are watching Dark. Granted, Dynamite, not a huge, larger, well, not that much of a larger audience, but it is large enough that you can make stars, that you can become somebody. You can become a well-known figure in wrestling simply because of who you're going to be associated with. The Codys, the Moxleys, the Bucks, and so on and so forth. So I hope that they do continue to work with Sean Dean and bring him up to kind of a larger focus when it comes to... He would be perfect for a TNT title shot. I'm not expecting him to win, but I am expecting a good showing. That kind of TNT challenger for Cody. I think that'd be kind of good down the road as they continue to use outside talent. When it comes outside talent, that sometimes becomes inside talent. But I think that'll be interesting to continue with the story of Cody. Sean Dean is somebody who can be used to further that story, and that's a way to get Sean Dean on Dynamite itself. We're going to kind of start to pick up the pace a little bit because between this episode of Dark and Impact, this was about 4 hours total of wrestling content. So moving onwards, we have Scorpio Sky versus Corey Hollis. Scorpio Sky picks up the win in a nice singles match. These two are really good together. Hollis is being trained, I believe they said Ricky Morton, unless it was Gibson. It was one of the Rock and Roll Express. I missed who it was, but I want to say it was Morton. And Hollis is also another one of those talents that they've brought in and is really good at what he does. It always takes two to tango when it comes to wrestling, and Scorpio Sky had a very good dance partner tonight on Dark, and that's why he's able to... That's why a good match happens here. You have to have two. Hollis can do that. And moving onwards, we have somebody else who can help put on a good match in Kenzie Page when she goes up against Penelope Ford. Penelope Ford is still growing in the ring, as are many of these talents in AEW, even the Dynamite talents. But one thing is for sure that with Britt Baker out, she has been positioned as one of the bigger heels, especially with Nyla Rose coming back, losing the title. That momentum's kind of dropped. Penelope Ford became the number one contender. Penelope Ford is somebody that they've positioned very well and continues to be positioned very well. Picks up the win over Kenzie Page. Kenzie Page, no slouch in this match, handles her own business when it comes to wrestling and doing in-ring work and convincing an audience that Ford is just really that good. Not that Ford isn't, just you gotta have two to tango. And also having two to tango is another singles match in Wardlow versus Aaron Solo. Wardlow is, if Penelope Ford is green, if we're going to say Penelope Ford is green, then Wardlow is white. He doesn't even have any green dye in him. He's a big guy, big man wrestler who relies on his strength and his size a little bit too much. He needs to develop a little bit more of a technical ability, at least in my book, and I think that's what they're working on him with. And Aaron Solo is somebody who is able to get a pretty good match out of Wardlow. It's a quick match, doesn't go too long, but it gets the job done in reinforcing Wardlow's size and strength and also giving Wardlow in-ring time to develop and get more experience. Experience is just something that counts so much in wrestling, and the more matches you get under your belts, the better you are. Wardlow is somebody who only debuted recently. He doesn't have a long career. So giving him more time is something that's going to be great for him, especially if down the road they break him out from MJF, which could very well be the case. After this, we go into another tag match. We have the Best Friends versus Dark Order. This is now the B team of Dark Order of Reynolds and Silver, and I gotta say, Best Friends, they deserved that tag team title shot because of the work that they put in during the pandemic tapings. I thought they were going to win. I know many people thought they were going to win at Fyter Fest. I still think they should have won. But damned if they don't continue to show and prove every single week, whether it's Dark, whether it's Dynamite, whether it's trying to find inventive ways to kill Brandon Cutler on BTE, why they are a really damn good tag team. And I'm sky's the limit for them. And I'm really interested in seeing how they can continue to thrive in such a stacked tag team division that AEW has. It's incredible how deep that is. And the division can only focus on a certain number of teams at the same time. I mean, case in point, the main event is a triple threat between 3 tag teams that could all be champion in this very moment. And in fact, one of them already was the inaugural champions in SCU. So that tag team division is super stacked, and I want to continue to see how Best Friends rises to the challenge, whether they can keep this momentum going. It's something that's going to take time in order to really, I don't want to say win over management, because obviously they have, but be the ones to say, we need these tag team titles, because they just added FTR, for example. Like, this is such a stacked tag team division. And after this, we have Lance Archer picking up a quick win over Frankie Thomas in Frankie Thomas's AEW debut. Lance Archer, yet again, coming to the ring with dragging somebody along with him and throwing them into the ring or throwing them by the ringside. It does start to get a little old, okay, we get it. You beat people up backstage. Why is anybody being around you? Part of it seems weird, but I guess it fits into the Lance Archer character. We'll go with that. We'll go with that and say that Lance Archer did what he needed to do, picked up the quick win. Frankie Thomas did what he needed to do and be the body in the ring that Lance Archer beat up. That simple. After this, we have Orange Cassidy versus Sir Pentaco. This was a pretty good match. I gotta say, I like Sir Pentaco. This is real Sir Pentaco, not Sammy Guevara masquerading as Sir Pentaco. But this is a solid match in that Cassidy, when Cassidy's the one who has to lead the match, it's really interesting because he's got that lazy, laid-back style, which the person who is Orange Cassidy obviously does not. And it's always cool to see Orange being the person who has to lead the match because he's got to... It's just from a psychology standpoint, he's the one who has to make everything move and call the match in the ring. And that's always great to see. Good match, though. Orange Cassidy picks up the win as we all expect him to. After this is Fuego del Sol versus Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara returning to action, I want to say a month or so, roughly speaking, after the comments that he made some years ago about Sasha Banks arose. And the company has said, while he was suspended, his pay would be donated to a Jacksonville Women's Center, a charity to help women who have been abused, who have been mistreated. Good decision by the company to not only suspend him, but to donate the money. I've had discussions whether or not that was the right move with fellow wrestling fans. I will continue to say that it was the right move. And Sammy got an apology from Sasha Banks. He explained his actions, why he said what he said. Sasha accepted the apology. As long as he's shown growth as an individual, we should be welcoming him back in that sense. And that's not to say that we shouldn't be on the lookout to make sure that he doesn't stumble and fall again and try to help him, but that we need to give people second chances. And in his first match back from a second chance, he picks up a win over Fuego del Sol, and Sammy Guevara is back in the mix. I I keep using the word interested a lot. I want to try to find a different word for interested. I will be intrigued. It still started with an I. We'll work on that on the vocabulary. I'll be intrigued to see how they work Sammy back into the mix. I know that Inner Circle is going to be involved in that big 10-man tag match on Dynamite, but which they continue to hype throughout the course of this program, and will be hyped by the main event. But I think that Sammy, as a single star, he's got to. We got to see who he's going to face. Is he going to be a challenger for Cody for one of those weeks? Is he going to potentially try to go after the world title in Moxley? We've already seen Chris Jericho lose the title. We've seen Moxley defeat Hager. Next up on the list of Inner Circle people down, if we slowly work our way down, should be Sammy Guevara. So at some point, maybe Sammy is in the mix for a world title shot. Who knows? We'll see. After this, we have our main event, a triple threat tag team match between Private Party, SCU, and Santana and Ortiz. Now, really strong match. I really like this match, and I think that it or Best Friends versus Dark Order, our match of the night, I could see why you would go either way. Both matches had something interesting, had unique storylines to them, and I think that I would give the tag to Best Friends Dark Order, but again, I can see why you would go with this one. Not Private Party. Santana Ortiz pick up the win. Previous match, Sammy Guevara is picking up the win. We're reinforcing that momentum for Inner Circle for the tag team match on Dynamite. I will say this, it's interesting. Usually if somebody wins on Dark, they lose on Dynamite. So we've had 2 Inner Circle people win on Dark. I wonder if that means they're going to lose on Dynamite in this 10-man tag team match. That'll be something that we need to pay attention to for tomorrow, for Dynamite. How that whole factors in, the Dark to Dynamite translation. But what doesn't translate, or doesn't have a problem translating, I should say, I misspoke, is that this tag match is really good. You have 3 solid teams. As we were talking about before with Best Friends, this tag team division is so stacked, and all of these teams know everything they're doing, and in the ring and outside of the ring, and just a great overall main event, and a great episode of Dark. I will say, 1 hour and 50 minutes was this episode, and I felt like it moved pretty quickly. There were some slowdown moments, a couple here and there, but overall, pretty good show. Now we're going to turn to Impact, and on Impact tonight, we have some storylines that are moving forward, picking up the pace, especially when it comes to Motor City Machine Guns and the North, but more importantly, when it comes to the Good Brothers and what they're doing. So we start off with Trey versus Eddie Edwards. Eddie Edwards is going to pick up the win. He's defending the world title. Interesting to start off hot. Normally when you start off hot, you start off with 2 wrestlers who hate each other, or you're starting off with a tag team match, explosive action, something like that. You very rarely start with a world title defense. That seems a little weird, but it works in that sense that I'll say this is the match of the night. It's the very first match on the card, but it is a very solid match, and it starts off hot, gets everybody going, gets everything interested in what's going to happen for the rest of Impact. Eddie Edwards picks up the win. Trey, tough luck, man, right? Like the character of Trey Miguel has been kind of in the dumps for a while, but hopefully he will be able to start turning this around with the help of his fellow rascal brethren. During the match and after the match, we have EY, a run-in with EY, and they are definitely building towards that. We will get an update from Rich Swann during the course of this episode, and I think while we thought that Rich and EY might be a feud for EY, I think they are going to transition straight to EY versus Eddie Edwards. And maybe if Eddie loses the title to EY, that'll be what Rich Swann. That's where Rich Swann comes in to be the first babyface to chase after the heel of EY. I kind of want to see EY versus Rich Swann, but at the same time, I don't think that Rich Swann should lose his return feud, so I think it's actually smart, and you don't want EY, if EY is going to be going after Eddie Edwards, you don't want him to look weak either, right? So I don't think that they made a bad decision here. It's a smart decision to just go straight to EY Eddie Edwards. It kind of seems like jumping the gun a little bit because we're getting that update from Rich Swann later in the show, but the whole thing works out in that sense. Now, last week they kind of previewed this Wrestle House thing that was going to happen, and this week we get it. It's a bit of zany. It's going to be popping up throughout the entire episode. Some zany stuff is going to happen, just some hilarity ensues, as is often said for comedic movies and such. But we will have matches actually throughout Wrestle House, one of which will be Crazy Steve versus AC Romero to see who can sleep in the ring. You didn't mishear me, that's because there are only 6 rooms in the house, and there are much more than 6 people at Wrestle House. So they're fighting over what little space there is. Crazy Steve and AC Romero are going to have a match. Nothing really to write home about. After this, there is Rohit Raju talking with TJP and Fallah Bahh. He gets TJP interested in going after the X Division Championship, and then he runs to Chris Bay and says, hey, I heard TJP talking about how he wants to take the X Division Championship. It's kind of funny, you're having the ultimate finesser attempts to be finessed by somebody who is ultimately clumsy as fuck. That's what Rohit Raju is. So the fact that he's trying to finesse Chris Bay potentially out of the X Division Championship is in and of itself kind of hilarious. After this, there is a promo interview with Ace Austin and Madman Fulton talking about what's going on with the Good Brothers, and they say that they're interested in seeing what's going to happen with the main event, which, as you will remember from last week, is Reno Scum versus the Good Brothers in their Impact debut as a tag team. Speaking of tag teams, after this, we have the North cutting a promo about their loss to Motor City Machine Guns. And I will say it's a very good promo. I liked it. The fact that Ethan Page was so choked up that he couldn't get out words, but at the same time was doing it comically. I thought that was kind of funny. Josh Alexander maintained the seriousness for the promo. Nice balance between the two. And said, hey, Motor City Machine Guns, we're coming after you because we are the North, and we are who we say we are. And we are the best damn tag team, not just in this company, but on the planet. And they have to believe that, and they have to get those titles back. This promo kind of turned me more towards being interested in how the storyline works out. I'm still on the fence about the whole overall decision, but that was a discussion or topic for last week. We have to move onwards. Why? Because we have the ability to control our narrative. And that's what EC3 is talking about in probably one of the strongest promos I've seen in a very long time. And that's saying something, because that Aldis Marty Scurll exchange on NWA Power and that Eddie Kingston promo not too long ago, really good, really strong stuff. But this is probably the best promo I've seen since those. EC3 has that control your narrative character down. He knows what he's doing. He did the pandemic right. He got shredded. He changed his character, and he made sure he understood the character. That last one is so important when it comes to wrestling. You have to know who you are. You have to know your character. And EC3 knows that, and he exudes that in the promo. Incredibly strong promo. I know Sid has compared him to Impact's Thanos, and we shall see if that continues to hold true, or whether he is a little bit different. He does reference his older EC3 character, the Trouble, and he kind of puts that to bed. So I want to see how this moves forward. Who's he going to be targeting? He warns everybody. Who is he going to go after first? We'll have to see. There are a number of people. There are a number of big baby faces. Eddie Edwards looks like he could be busy with EY, but Trey's time just kind of, I don't know, that kind of just opened up, maybe. We'll see. After this, we have a backstage interview with Moose that gets interrupted by Heath. Heath basically finagles his way into a TNA World Heavyweight Championship match against Moose. Scott D'Amore comes after Moose leaves and says, hey, Heath, if you can win, we'll give you a contract. We'll give you a spot on Impact. So things are looking up for Heath if he can pull out a win over the undefeated, for a while now, Moose with the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, an unsanctioned title, on the line. That would actually be interesting if they took the title off of Moose for Heath in order to get Heath a contract. I think maybe they will work on getting Heath a contract storyline-wise a different way. I would laugh if they recreated the Drake Maverick thing that NXT did with Hunter during the interim Cruiserweight Championship tournament. That would kind of be funny in and of itself. Something that's not funny is Kimberly versus Diana Parrazzo. As you will remember, last week, Diana Parrazzo was introduced to Kylie Rae, tried to put her in the armbar, failed. There was a scuffle. Kimberly tried to pull Diana away from Kylie Rae just to keep everybody safe and got sucker punched for it. And so because of that, we're getting this match. Kimberly really comes out hot out of the gates, trying to make her point her that you better not put your hands on me like that, Diana. But Diana, the virtuosa is going to virtuose. That's all I can say. And Diana Parrazzo guts out a win here with that armbar, continuing to tell great stories in the match that Kimberly's anger and frustration gets the better of her, and that Diana's willingness to be patient and follow a strategy is what's going to work for her. After the match, Jordan Grace comes back and attacks Diana. Diana gets out of the ring. I don't know, maybe if they do a return match for that before we get to Kylie. I don't know, we'll see. Kylie's still number one contender, though, so she's going to be in the mix somehow. They move back to Wrestle House, and here we have a match between the Deaners, the Cousin Deaner and Jake. Cody Deaner and Cousin Jake, and Jake wins the match. This is to determine who will sleep on the floor of the bedroom. That's what we're doing. No, I'm kidding. It's Wrestle House is pretty funny. There's actually a moment where Abyss shows up, or at least I think it's repurposed old footage, because obviously there's no way they were able to get actual Abyss. He's signed to WWE as a backstage producer. After this, there is a Rascal segment in the Treehouse. Guys, look, I got to apologize. I know that Chris G, former host of Blunt Impact, Joints and Jabronis, he has his gimmick, shall we say. I do not partake of that gimmick, not on as frequent basis as he would or will, so I cannot join in the Rascals, or any of you, in enjoying this backstage segment as the Rascals did, but it was a pretty funny segment nonetheless, I will say that. Suicide pops up in the segment. After this, there is an interview with Rich Swann. He indicates that the doctors are not too optimistic about the damage to his re-injured leg that EY injured during the Slammiversary main event, but he does say that next week he will be in the Impact Zone to properly address all of the medical concerns about his injury. I will be interested to see, or intrigued, I gotta find other ones that start with I. Maybe that's my thing, to replace interested. I am excited, we'll go with E, excited to see how they work Rich Swann back into things. I don't think his knee is actually injured. We would have probably found out for reals if it was. And after this, we have our main event of Reno Scum taking on the Good Brothers. If you think that the Reno Scum stands a chance in this match, you are not a fan of wrestling. Reno Scum loses this match to the Good Brothers. The Good Brothers are a cohesive tag team. Not to say that Reno Scum are not, but the Good Brothers are a cohesive tag team that are also making their Impact debut after being the big sign news. And they pick up a strong win, a quick win actually, 6 minutes and 30 seconds. I just wanted to look it up because I felt like that main event flew by. Most of this episode of Impact was dedicated to backstage segments, interviews, vignettes, and the Wrestle House. And it's fine because all of it's entertaining, all of it is, in a sense, moving storylines forward. It's moving forward, Wrestle House is moving forward Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie, even if we don't realize it. Even if it's focusing on other things in the process, it's focusing also on Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie. And throughout, actually, one thing I will say is that, oh, that's what I forgot to, in my notes, I forgot to write down. They're moving Callahan from a program with Ken Shamrock to something with RVD. I don't know why. I think it's maybe because Ken Shamrock needs some time off. I don't know. But I don't hate this. but I also don't really like it. Basically, the gist of it is this. Katie Forbes is walking backstage. Sammy was waiting for Shamrock. She thinks that Callahan is a fan. So later, when he is talking to Shamrock, after Shamrock leaves, RVD and Katie Forbes come, and Katie is like, that's the guy who was being a creeper. And RVD like gets in Sammy's face. Sammy later, when Katie Forbes is debuting pictures for her website where we can see her for free or whatever, now that the whole cancel culture is gone due to everything that happened with Joey and Chris, when the photos debut, they've got Callahan's face on them, and Katie Forbes throws a bitch fit. And that's why we're going to get a match, probably, between RVD and Sammy Callahan. So as storylines go, it's a horrible storyline. It's a very weak storyline. As also storylines go, it's at least well done. You can have a garbage storyline that's well done. And it's well done in that sense of RVD is so oblivious to what's going on because he's just RVD at this point, and that's feeding into his RVD character, that he doesn't realize, he doesn't even, like, it's part of him doesn't even think who the hell is this guy. And he knows who Callahan is, or should know who Callahan is. So the fact that he's just like, who the fuck is this dude who apparently is just creeping on my girl, and then Callahan's like, alright, fine, I'll actually mess with you then. And then actually messes with them. So that part of it is the execution, good. Storyline itself probably could have been redone. But it gets where they need to go, which I guess is a RVD versus Callahan match or potential feud. But going back to the main event, it ends with Good Brothers picking up a win over Reno Scum. Overall, a pretty good match, a pretty good main event, pretty good episode, moving things forward, continuing storylines, opening up new storylines such as RVD and Sammy Callahan. Not much else I can say about it. I want to see how the build continues, because Bound for Glory is in October, and not just October; it's the end of October. So we've got basically 3 months to really see where we're going to go when it comes to what our Bound for Glory matches are going to be. I said on the Slammiversary recap roundtable that maybe bringing back the BFG series would be something they could do. And we also talked about how a title unification down the road could work. So I want to see how these storylines continue to develop, whether we have maybe a special TV episode in August, maybe late August, mid to late August, to kind of get some big matches out of the way as we build towards Bound for Glory and see what that card will actually shape up to be. But until then, guys, whatever happens, just know that we'll be reviewing it together. We'll be talking about it together. I'm excited to always talk with you guys every week. It's something that I look forward to. That's probably why I ramble for so long. And I appreciate all of you guys sticking with me throughout the entire length of the video if you have made it this far. So until next time, guys, stay safe. The pandemic is still kicking all of our asses, collective asses, whether you're a babyface, whether you're a true heel, whoever you might be. So until next time, guys, stay safe. Hug your loved ones, and I'll catch you later.